Hello, I'm Mike Cleary, and welcome to Happy New You. I remember playing on the school playground as a child. Inevitably, there would always be one kid who would taunt another kid with jibes such as, "My dad could whip your dad," and the like. The typical response would be, "You take that back." I suppose, in retrospect, that phrase doesn't really make all that much sense to me. Take it back. Once a word is uttered, once an insult is spoken, it's impossible to take it back. The damage has been done. It's like the time several years ago when I got a terrible case of sunburn. I went to the doctor who told me there's nothing he could do about it. It was too late to undo what had been done. The only thing I could do was to endure the pain. It's the same with hurtful words and insults. Once cruel words have been spoken in anger or retaliation for an injury that had been inflicted, there's nothing that can be done other than deal with the aftermath. But they're only words, you say. Not true. Words have power, particularly when there's a strong emotion behind them. Even though your conscious mind may refute what's being said, on a subconscious level, your mind begins to wonder if there may be a kernel of truth in that statement. Well, wait a minute. Am I really inadequate? Am I really not smart enough, not attractive enough, not even loved enough? The seed of doubt has been planted in the depths of your mind. When an adult tells a child that he cannot do a certain thing, that he will not succeed, that he's not good enough, the child believes what he's been told and just simply gives up. When we lash out and say something cruel to our spouse, our co-workers, our children, they may immediately refute it, but the tiny seed of doubt has now been planted. My wife Sharon has an effective metaphor for this phenomenon. Imagine a relationship between two people as a thick, heavy rope. When hateful or harmful words are spoken, one of the tiny threads of the rope is severed. May not seem like much, but irreparable damage has been done nonetheless. The thread can never be mended. If enough strands are cut, the rope weakens and may eventually break. There was an interesting bit of research done by Robert Schroff, associate professor of applied linguistics and an anthropologist at Penn State. Schroff was interested in how people process words that express emotions. He had various age groups in both Mexico City and Chicago write down as many words as they could in 2 minutes that express emotion. He found that regardless of whether the group was young or old, Anglo or Mexican, the results were essentially the same. 50% of the words to express emotion were negative. 30% were positive and 20% were neutral. Wow, think about it. 50% of our emotional vocabulary are negative words. Small wonder we have to continually be mindful of how we express ourselves to others, and just as important, how we talk to ourselves. Not only does this include negative speak, but the use of sarcasm as well. Now, I've talked before about how the brain cannot differentiate between sarcasm and sincerity. It's like a fellow writer once told me, I need a sarcasm font. Imagine if someone was taking dictation while you were speaking sarcastically, and then have them read it back to you without any emotion. That is exactly what the brain records. Even if it was meant humorously, the brain records it as absolute truth. Minds can't tell the difference. This is so important when we jokingly use sarcasm when communicating with friends, co-workers, and our family. Using negative speak only serves to damage the relationship, if only on a subconscious level. They may stop and wonder, does he really think that way about me? Is his use of negative humor a way of expressing a deeper resentment or even anger? Now, I've been accused on several occasions of not having a sense of humor, particularly when it comes to sarcasm. Quite frankly, I just don't understand it. How folks can verbally attack one another in the name of humor is just beyond my scope of comprehension. Take one of those sitcoms where the family members berate one another and then mechanical laughter punctuates every line. Take away the laugh track and listen to the words themselves. Would they be funny if someone said that to you? Are verbal insults acceptable if someone is laughing about it? I remember working in an office, and a man insulted a female coworker in a particularly nasty jibe. He laughed it off, but she didn't. The woman forced a smile, and it was painfully obvious that she was not amused. People often excuse or even condone insulting language if it's presented with laughter. Like the children calling each other names in the playground. Hurtful words spoken in jest can't be taken back, even if the person is trying to be funny. So my challenge to you this week is try to eliminate negative talk from your vocabulary. As my mother might say, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. What can we do to prevent ourselves from damaging the relationships between us and those we love? I recommend that before you say something that you may later come to regret, slowly count to 10. By then, the words you utter may be more rational and less hurtful. There's an old practice. Before you say something that can sever the rope, as my wife Sharon might say, ask yourself, is it true? Is it necessary? And is it kind? I can still vividly recall mean and cruel things that were spoken to me decades ago. Some of those words were spoken in anger, others perhaps meant as payback for some error I had committed, and others were intended to be just simple, playful banter. I've come to realize that the person who spoke those words probably didn't really mean what they had said, but the damage was done nonetheless. The hurt remains, and no amount of apology, atonement, can ever take it back. I've recently gotten a habit of catching my friends when they say something derogatory and insulting about themselves. Things like, oh, I am so stupid. I'm such an idiot. I can never do anything right. I stop and tell them, hey, don't talk about my friend that way. They look at me with surprise and say, what do you mean? I say, I wouldn't put up with anyone talking about you that way. I don't want anybody to say those things about my friends not even you. Think about the harsh words we speak to ourselves. Would you put up with some stranger talking about you that way? Would you put up with someone talking about your friends that way, even if it was meant in humor? Certainly gives me pause to wonder what it is we're putting into our brains. A man once told me, if you do something several times, it becomes a habit. If you do some things enough times, it becomes a way of life. If you insult yourself or someone else enough times, they tend to believe it. Don't make putting yourself or others down, even in jest, to become a way of life for you. Just like those children taunting each other on the playground, there are some things that you can never take back, not even to yourself. Well, of course, I have a song about taking responsibility for your life. It's called It's Time. As children, we were raised up with folks telling us no, what not to do, what not to say, where we shouldn't go. There comes a time when you say, this is my life, and I will choose for me what's wrong or right. Are you walking down your own road? Are you responsible for your own load? Are those echoes that you hear of your own voice saying that it's time to stand and make your choice? Make your choice. It's not easy to take control of your destiny. It's the only way your heart and soul can be free. It's time to trust and to let your spirit guide. You're the only one who knows what you feel inside. Are you walking down your own road? Are you responsible for your own load? Are those echoes that you hear of your own voice saying that it's time to stand and make your choice? Are you walking down your own road? Are you responsible for your own load? Are those echoes that you hear of your own voice saying that it's time to stand and make your choice? Make your choice. Make your choice. Make your choice. Make your choice. We'll be right back after these announcements.
Bella Vista Community Television presents our sponsor appreciation. The Veggie Table, located in Forest Hills. Farmers Market fresh, delightfully refreshing, where friends and family love to meet and eat. Veggie Table, healthy but seriously delicious.
Welcome back to Happy New You. Just a reminder, this program is a production of Bella Vista Community Television. Volunteers and supporters of this television station are always welcome and appreciated. One of the things I often ponder over is about how sometimes we get enthused and excited about something, an activity, a movie, some happening that's going on in the community, while others, not so much. We wonder why everyone is not as passionate about the subject as we are. One aspect of enjoying this life's journey that we're on is the realization that folks are not going to be as excited about the same things that you are. Several years ago, I was listening to a keynote speaker named Don Hudson at a conference that I was attending in Chattanooga, Tennessee. The fellow was hired as a motivational speaker. Well, personally, I think it's a bit of a misnomer when someone claims to be a motivational speaker. Inspirational speaker, perhaps. You can inspire a person into action, but motivation has to come from within. That guest speaker's premise was that all motivation is self-motivation. That assertion made me take a moment to pause. All motivation is self-motivation. The core message, concept of this message is that motivation is an individualized thing and not a blanket cure-all used to elevate a corporation's employees to greater involvement and achievement. Motivation begins within you and cannot be created through some outside force or stimulus. In other words, you can't motivate someone into doing something they don't want to do. You can convince someone to perform a task for you, but you can't make them enjoy it. Likewise, it's hard to motivate yourself to do something that you're not overly excited about. Take exercise, for example. I know that I need to exercise more, but it's hard to get myself motivated enough to actually get up and do it. That's why they suggest that you have a workout buddy to do it with you. The enthusiasm of a group helps to raise your energy level as well. I was a member of Toastmasters International for many years. Toastmasters is an organization that helps you become better in leadership skills and public speaking. When I presented a speech at one of the Toastmasters Club meetings, one of the things I learned to do early on was to relate my topic to my audience. I would ask myself, what can they get out of it? In other words, what's in it for them? When you speak on a topic that you feel passionate about, either to an individual or to a group, you have to instill in them that same passion, or they will be less motivated into action. They have to believe that their involvement will offer some benefit or satisfaction to them. Job satisfaction not only comes from good performance at work, but in the feeling that what you do has meaning. Motivation is as individualized as the person himself. Not all people react to the same stimulus. A newspaper or magazine article may arouse your interest and spur you to action, but it may not have the same effect on others. Generally speaking, people want to feel good about the things they do. That's why we often overindulge in certain things, because it makes us feel good. Smoking, drinking, eating, we justify our activity and often our excessiveness because we like it. Doing things that give us pleasure can be a motivation in itself. Many times I feel as though I may be too accommodating to others. People tend to take advantage of my good nature. As my wife Sharon might say, I'm generous to a fault. I find it difficult to say no when someone wants something from me or asks me to help them in some way. I realize that I must be getting something out of it in return if I routinely give in to their requests. Helping those in need and doing acts of kindness can be a reward in itself. So when I ask myself, what's in it for me? It may be in the using of my gifts and talents for the benefit of others. I give what I have and what I am as an outward expression of love. Now, I have to admit, I'm something of a procrastinator. Not about everything, mind you, but there are certain things that I just jump right in and accomplish immediately, while others are put off to, when I feel like it. When I'm not motivated to do something, it takes me a long time to get around to doing it. Passion for a cause is also individualized. However, I've noticed that people often don't know how they genuinely feel about a certain subject. Sometimes when I'm asked, how do you feel about that? I respond, I don't know. It may be hard to articulate your feelings about certain things. Sometimes we discover that we don't have any feelings either way, while at other times we are wholly enthused. It all depends on the person, the activity, and the inspiration felt at any particular moment. I once heard the phrase, excitement creates energy. If you're excited and enthused about doing something, you will be energized to do it. Activities that we love, we can do all day long. I have a small woodworking shop in the basement of my house. I can be down there for hours on end. And when I get into the zone, like when I'm writing, hours can pass quickly by. Nobody can make us excited about the things we love to do. Enthusiasm, like motivation, comes from within. So when you want others to be interested and excited about something that you feel passionate about, ask yourself, what's in it for them? Employers have often found that financial compensation is not enough to get people to participate in a project. Many organizations rely on unpaid volunteers and don't have resources to financially compensate their workers. So, how do you get folks energized about getting involved? Awards and public acknowledgement is a great motivator. People will put forth considerable effort for a simple printed certificate or public recognition. I was involved in community theater for many years, where dozens of actors and stagehands would dedicate weeks of their time merely to see their names in a program or hear the applause of an appreciative audience. True, they have a love for the theater, but dedication and devotion tend to wane if there's no payback for the effort. What motivates you? To help others or to encourage others to help themselves? There's an old adage that goes something like this. I gave a man a fish and he ate for a day. I taught a man to fish and now he can eat every day. Perhaps instead of doing things for others, we can do things with others. Personal involvement may persuade others to be more invested in the outcome. So, what are you excited about? What's in it for you? When you find yourself speaking to an individual or a group on a particular subject that you are interested in, remember to consider your audience's needs and what's in it for them. How can they benefit from your information? Find a common ground where your listeners can be energized with the same enthusiasm and passion for your subject as you are. As the speaker in Chattanooga said, all motivation is self-motivation. Once you become motivated into action, others may become just as excited by seeing your enthusiasm and be energized as well. I have a song about what you believe in. No one can tell you what you can believe. You are the one to choose what you believe in. No one can tell you what's real and what is true. You must determine what resonates inside you. Vision's not only what you see with your eye, it's a dream you embrace deep inside. What you believe is what matters most of all. It gives you strength to lift you up when you fall. What speaks most about you are the things that you hold dear. So hold on fast to that which you believe. This old world keeps on turning round in space. It hasn't a care for the affairs of the human race. It's up to you to keep your hopes and dreams alive, 'cause no one can steal what's real to you inside. What you believe is what matters most of all. It gives you strength to lift you up when you fall. What speaks most about you are the things that you hold dear. So hold on fast to that which you believe. No one will tell you the things that you hold dear. So hold on fast to that which you believe. What you believe. I'm Mike Cleary. Thank you for joining me for Happy New You, and have a fabulous day.